Wednesday, happy hump day, another edition of Pushing the Limits. So glad you could join us, of course, broadcasting live on KSHP. Also, of course, broadcasting live on YouTube, the PTL Vegas fan page, Facebook, the PTL Vegas fan page, everywhere, Twitter, Pushing Limits LV, for your listening pleasure. Boy, do we have a big show lined up for you today. We got a lot to get to, a lot to go over. Really tragic story coming out of UNLV. You might have heard of this story. It's a national story now. UNLV defensive lineman Ryan Keeler passing away. Well, we're learning more information, according to TMZ, about his death and what might have led up to it. TMZ's on so many stories, and Mike Babcock, who runs TMZ Sports, nice enough to join us in hour number 2, and he's going to be actually giving us the lowdown of what the latest is on the investigation into this young man's death. Obviously, it's tragedy, but I don't like the hearsay stuff. I want to get the actual facts. So Mr. Babcock joining us in hour number 2. There is a really crazy story coming out of Canada. Yes, that's right. A man, transgender, would you call him a her? I don't know. Z-cup breasts, teaching at a high school, and now the parents want this teacher fired. It's bizarre. Okay, this is a bizarre story, and we have the story for you. Kobe Bryant's family receiving $29 million in a settlement. If you remember those pictures, disgusting, of dead bodies that were sent to different people. We'll talk a little bit about that story. Are Jim Crow laws coming back to Mississippi? We'll get to all that. So I mentioned last week, actually, that there's an open, I shouldn't say open tryout because it's not, but I'm looking for a permanent co-host. And I've told you guys this on the air. I'm pretty open about it. And I put out an ad, and I got like literally 75 resumes. So I've been crazy the last couple weeks, and I've narrowed it down to like 3 or 4 people. Not that I want to put any pressure on this guy. I would never do that. But he's my leadoff man, okay? He's from LA. He's out here in Vegas, and I appreciate him joining me. He does not have a face for radio, unlike me. Okay, he's a TV guy, this guy. He's done radio. He's done TV. He's got a lot of experience. And I'm very happy to have Mr. Jamie D joining me in studio. Jamie, thank you so much for being here.
What's up, Brian? How you doing today? Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
So people are going to want to know like a little bit about you,
okay?
Right?
Yeah.
So give me a little bit of background about you. I know you've done a lot of TV work and TV shows, and you've done a lot of things. You're out there in LA. Tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah. So what's up, guys? My name is Jamie D. I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, but I'm currently residing in Los Angeles, California. Been in the industry for over 8 years now. I have 4 TV shows as the main character on TV One, Oxygen, and ID channel. I've been a radio personality for Cumulus Media, a community radio station in Maryland, WMUC 88.1 FM, and now I'm currently working with iHeart and doing all this great stuff. I'm currently also a live TV talk show host for Live Play Bingo.
Live Play Bingo. You know, yes. I used to, what's the show? No Whammies, No Whammies. I used to watch that show all the time. I always watched The Price is Right. I used to love, when Bob Barker, the days of Bob Barker, I used to love The Price is Right. I used to love game shows. I'll be honest with you. I don't watch game shows as much as I used to, man. But I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. I watch the news, which drives me crazy, by the way. Drives me nuts. I watch sports, obviously. And by the way, that's another thing. We got a big UNLV basketball game tonight. We're heading into March Madness. Right. It's senior night, which is also always a special night for seniors. And tonight they're playing Utah State in town. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later on. That's a big game for the UNLV basketball program that is struggling mightily. They need a win. UNLV women's program, top 25 in the country. So we'll get to a little sports and all that stuff. But anyway, you live in LA. I have to start with this, man. You know, I went to one of the worst casinos on the planet, in my personal opinion. I went with my friend Al. We went to Commerce Casino, and I hate that place. I really hate it for a lot of different reasons. I don't like LA. I love San Diego. Don't get me wrong. California is a beautiful state, a lot of different places. Like I said, I love San Diego. I love the beaches out there. I got to say, man, I'm really, every time I go to LA, I feel like it's getting worse and worse. The homeless issues, it's getting nasty. People are snotty. They're not friendly. I don't know, man. I'm just not an LA person. Am I wrong to feel that way? I don't know.
I don't
like,
think you're
do you
wrong
like
at all.
LA? I just don't like living
my
there.
thing is, the 2 things that I've learned about LA is, one, LA makes you realize that seasonal depression isn't seasonal.
Right.
And then you realize, too, that LA is a place that you want to have limited exposure to. I enjoy LA when I have exposure in little spouts, so like a weekend or a week. But living there, you're immersed in all of the politics. You're immersed in the he said, she said. You're immersed in everyone's trying to make it dog eat dog world. And it gets very, very hard to continue to be yourself when you're in a sea of people faking to be who they are.
Yes.
And trying to make it. And also, too, it's really hard for you to find genuine people to be around because you truly want to make sure that you feel safe and protected in your space. And you never know who you have in your space in LA. So it can be hard, but there's a lot of magic in LA too. You know, I'm a very positive person at the end of the day. And I think once you go in there knowing who you are, or if you go there and you find who you are, as long as you stick to your script and you set your boundaries, you can have a great time in LA.
Good. I'm glad you're the opposite of me because I am not a very positive person. I'm a very negative person, if anybody that knows me. But I try to be positive.
Right.
I hate the traffic. I don't like the smog. I love the weather. Don't get me wrong. The weather's great, but it's so damn expensive to live out there.
I tell people all the time, as long as you have money, LA can be your playing field. If you don't, go somewhere else first.
I tend to agree with you on that. I just feel like there are a lot of phony people in LA. There are people that are fake, and I miss that East Coast mentality where I'm from, which is, this is who I am. If you don't like it, go F yourself.
Facts.
I mean, that's pretty much, you know, the way people on the East Coast are, and I feel like West Coast people, but a lot of people from LA are moving to Vegas, man. A lot of people are moving
the cost of living is way cheaper. I was out here looking at apartments, and it's like $1,000 for one bedroom. I'm paying $2,000 for a one bedroom.
That's insane.
It's ridiculous, and that's not including anything. Also, I want to mention, a lot of people don't realize, please do your research before you move to LA. What we consider necessities everywhere else, like the East Coast, I did go to grad school, University of Maryland, College Park, go Terps. What we consider necessities in other apartments, like refrigerators and stoves, they consider luxuries in apartments in LA.
Really? Wow.
When I tell you it is ghetto, that's the only adjective I can use for it. Like, why am I renting a refrigerator for an apartment?
That's absurd.
It's ridiculous. And also, too, I understand that you said that you like the weather. Unless you actually live in LA, you don't truly know the weather. One thing I say all the time is LA is not marketed to be what it actually is. And people don't realize what the weather really is. It's actually cooler there than it is warm and hot. And when I first moved there, I was wondering, why isn't AC included in apartments? It's hot. Like, I'm thinking it's going to be hot all the time. And also, even if it's not hot outside, I'm very hot-tempered, especially when I'm trying to get ready for things. A lot of things in LA are last minute, on the fly, or you find out last minute, so you're trying to rush to get places.
Would you blame the governor for any of that stuff, Gavin Newsom? Because a lot of people feel like Gavin Newsom could be running for president, you know, and I have different opinions on Gavin Newsom. I would certainly rather have Gavin Newsom be the president of the United States than, say, a Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis. But like, you've lived in LA. What do people say about Gavin Newsom? What are your thoughts on him?
So my thing is, people don't really speak about Gavin Newsom in my social circles. I don't personally blame one specific person about all the social issues in a state particularly, because even now with our new mayor in LA, she's going around really helping out the homeless people, getting them off the streets. Even in the past few months of her being in the office, I've seen way less homeless on the streets. She's really way less. I mean, not saying that it's gone, but significantly less than what I've seen on a day-to-day basis. And so I think people need to realize that instead of going directly to your governor, look at your home base first. Look at your mayors. Look at people who are actually helping you create laws in your district. And that's where you start. I didn't know when I moved to LA that there actually is a bylaw that pretty much says that they landlords will have to provide certain things. And I mean, that can start at home. That can start in your district. That can start in your city. And so while, you may want to be upset with the main person, you got to look lower first.
I don't disagree. I hear a lot of people saying that, whether it comes to COVID or healthcare, many different issues in this country. And a lot of people say, well, focus locally first before you attack the president of the United States. I don't necessarily disagree with you. All right, let's get right into this, because a lot of big stories over the course of the last 24 hours. This is something that I've talked about on this show, Jamie, a lot, which is, the Supreme Court now looking at federal student loans. As you know, former, or I should say current president, Joe Biden, is trying to get rid of student loan debt, at least up to $20,000. There are like 27 million people that could be affected by this judgment put forth by the Supreme Court. Some people are calling this controversial. I don't. A lot of people that are against it, they seem to be Republicans these days. A lot of people that are against this student loan debt forgiveness that could pass are basically saying, well, wait a second, 20, 15, 20, 30 years ago, I had to pay off my student loan debt, so why should you? It's the old, well, I had to suffer, so let's make you suffer instead of improving this country. I am for this bill. I think college tuition is absurd. I think it's a joke. Leave it to Republicans, in my opinion, to want people to continue to suffer instead of changing things to make things better for society. I don't know if the Supreme Court is going to pass this. I would say I probably highly doubt it because why? Too many conservatives that are Supreme Court justices. But this is going to affect tens of millions of people if it is passed or if it is not passed. And I say, especially after COVID, when so many people out there are struggling economically, and now they have to worry about their student loan debt, when it's hard enough to get a really good job in this country. I am for it. A lot of people are against it. What are your thoughts on the student loan debt forgiveness?
Brian, I am absolutely for it. As somebody who has a bachelor's and a master's and somebody who's of obviously the black ethnicity, I'm for it. I think that people don't realize when you have such high tuition rates that are hard for people of my ethnicity or people who are from minority groups to even afford, you push us out of tax brackets. You push us out of opportunities. And a lot of times, even when we do find ways to get to and through college, we still have to continue to focus on how to pay that off. And it pushes us out of the tax bracket that a lot of people are in, that a lot of the Republicans and the conservatives are in. And I think that's the biggest reasons why they wouldn't want to push this. They don't want to see other people from minority groups in their tax bracket being able to have the same amenities they have in life and being able to have the same pleasures. I think at the end of the day, you have to realize that not only is tuition putting people in a place of struggle, having such high tuition that people aren't able to actually pay on a day-to-day basis. I mean, look at the people who are actually suffering from it now. It's people 50 years and older who have the most debt and still aren't out of that. And I'm not even anywhere near that, you know?
Right, of course.
And to think that I would be 50 and up still trying to work off my debt, I should be relaxing on the beach somewhere.
I agree with you. Now, here's where I disagree with maybe the ultra left and Bernie Sanders, who thinks that all college should be free. I think that's also absurd. I think we have to find middle ground, you know? I mean, Bernie Sanders is extreme on a lot of different views. You know, $15 an hour minimum wage, free health care for everybody, free college for everybody. That is not going to work in this country. Right. But at the same time, you know, this poor kid who's 22 years old who just went to college and now all of a sudden he's $50,000 in debt and he can't find a job or maybe even more. Right. $20,000 debt forgiveness would help a lot.
It would help a lot even for me. I mean, that's pretty much where my debt is currently. And I think people don't realize also when it comes to people finding jobs, a lot of jobs don't pay that much. And there's a lot of disparity on who gets paid more than the other. And a lot of times it's people who are in different minority groups or who are female who aren't getting paid as much as their Caucasian counterparts, which makes it very, very hard to get out of that debt. On top of that, I feel as though there's a lot of compromise we can have with that. I understand that it may seem far-fetched to you, Brian, to have free college everywhere, but you can start somewhere. It could be free for associate programs. 2-year programs should be free for everybody.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Right. I can understand like even trade schools. But when it comes to colleges and universities where there's 4-year programs where you're getting bachelors, it shouldn't be $50,000. And also, too, when you look at all the things that come in that are on your bill, residential housing, your meal plan, all that stuff, it's way too expensive.
It is.
I've been to 3 different universities, one Florida International University for my undergrad. I went to NC State for a summer semester and then University of Maryland for my master's. And just seeing how high priced it is and talking to my other fellow minorities and how they're always upset with the fact that they're trying to make it through while my Caucasian counterparts are just like, ooh, yay, we're here. It's hard, you know?
Yeah. We call that white privilege, by the way.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is a staggering figure, Jamie. $1.6 trillion is owed in this country. Student loan debt, a compounding figure. It's skyrocketed, by the way. It keeps going higher along with the cost of higher education. So something needs to be done. And I ask this question all the time. If Republicans don't want this student loan debt thing passed, right, and many of them don't, and if the Supreme Court justices, I would imagine the ones that are conservative, are the ones that are going to be voting against this, I would imagine, then where are their answers? They don't have any solutions. I talk about this all the time when it comes to Democrats and Republicans, whether it be gun control, whether it be health care, any of the major, or inflation even, any of the major economic issues facing this country. They complain about Democrats, but they don't have solutions. Joe Biden is trying to do something. The Democrats are trying to do something. People might disagree with it, but he's saying, okay, let's try to take $20,000 student debt off and take the weight off your shoulders, so to speak. I agree with this. It's a great start. It's not going to pass because of Republicans. I'm telling you, it's not going to pass. So where are the solutions? What are Republicans saying? The college tuition is not getting any cheaper. People are getting in bigger student debt. So I say to the Republicans or the Supreme Court justices that are obviously going to vote against this, where are the solutions?
The solutions are to have them feel exactly what we're feeling. You know, make them pay more than what we're paying. Make them realize that it's not as easy for everybody else to have the same life that you have. A lot of the times when we speak about Republicans and Democrats, we think that, oh, one's better than the other, one's not. A lot of these politicians are selfish. A lot of the times they have their own agenda. They want to push what they want for themselves because it keeps them in the space they want to be. A lot of the times Republicans have this safeguard around themselves because they feel protected by police. They feel protected by taxes and being able to get around different tax brackets and stuff like that. And we don't realize that at the end of the day, if you don't walk in somebody else's shoes, you don't get to see what they're going through.
I agree.
And if you don't put these Republicans in, let's say, take them to HBCUs, show them how much harder it is for people in minority groups and minority universities, and how like their schools look, and how their residential halls look, and how they're not getting enough money, and how they're still having to spend so much money in worse places. You know, I'm not saying the HBCUs are worse, but in a sense, when you compare them to PWIs and bigger universities, obviously we don't have that many resources as those. But when you put these Republicans and Democrats and just people in power in these spaces, they'll be able to answer more for us and do more for us and not for themselves.
I agree. I mean, a lot of people that are in office right now, they don't know really what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. And if they do, it happened a long time ago for them. The people that are in office right now, most of them are pretty wealthy people and very well off people. And many of the people that are voting against this, you know, it's so interesting to me. I'll give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about, right? A local guy here who ran against Senator Horsford, his name is Sam Peters. And Senator Horsford's been in studio here. I've interviewed him before. I think he's a decent guy. Not perfect, but a decent guy. Anyway, the Republican that ran against him, who I just mentioned, Sam Peters, during COVID, he's a business owner. He received a governmental program, and he received an injection into his business so that he could pay his employees, whatever the case may be. And guess what? That was forgiven. So this is a guy who is against student loan debt forgiveness, completely against it. Yet he owns a business, and during COVID, he took a loan from the government that he didn't have to pay back. And that's one of the reasons probably why he lost the election. And I just find so many of these Republicans so hypocritical. During COVID, they had loan forgiveness. They received loans from the government. And these are the same people that are against student loan forgiveness. Why? Because they're not in that position. It doesn't affect them.
Not at all.
But when they own a business during COVID and they need help, and by the way, I would argue that I don't even think Sam Peters needed the help. He just took it because I think he had enough money to pay his employees, but he didn't want to put it out of his own pocket. Forgive that debt. That's totally fine when it comes to businesses that are struggling during COVID. But when it comes to students that are struggling after COVID, oh no, we're not going to help them. I just find it so hypocritical and so disgusting.
One thing about politics that I find annoying is that it's a contradiction across the board, everywhere. Even when I was doing my own research on certain topics last night, I'm like, how can you be a Republican who's for individualism, but you're also for traditionalism as well? That's a complete contradiction. You can't be for the individual putting themselves first, but we're going to also believe in all these traditions that have been brought down the line and through generations. And when you look at all these different politicians who are in power right now, a lot of them have mental health issues. Let's call a spade a spade. A lot of these people are out here making decisions for people that they don't even care about, and they're making very far-fetched decisions. But when they're put in the position, and it may not be as rough as the positions we're in as everyday people, they're like, help us, we need all these different resources. It's like, how can you see yourself in that position right now, but not see yourself in our position? That makes no sense. You cannot be a stable person and sit here and say that during COVID, because I had all this money that I was owed due to taxes, or because I was going to go bankrupt, or whatever that may look like during COVID, I need a way to get pulled out of this. But when the common person who doesn't have as much money as you says, hey, I'm just trying to make a better life for myself, not trying to be rich, but a better life for myself and my possible family, please give me a weight off my shoulders by getting rid of student loan debt, and you say, no, you need to struggle. Please tell me that. How does that sound mentally stable? Make it make sense.
It's not. There's a lot of people in office right now that are not very mentally stable, including people, by the way, in, I believe it's Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken. You know, I was reading this story, and it's just so mesmerizing to me before we go to break, and I have to bring it to your attention because it's just so disgusting. And the same people, I believe, that are against student loan debt are also the same people that I guess want to bring back modern-day Jim Crow laws. I mean, it's unbelievable. White representatives in Mississippi House that are Republican, by the way. You won't find a Democrat that's approving this. They approved a bill to create a new district that includes all of the majority white neighborhoods in Jackson, a capital city that is, by the way, 83% black. It includes creating a criminal justice system for the district overseen by an all-white power base. Under this House Bill 1020, it's called, the white conservative Chief Justice, of course, of the Mississippi Supreme Court would handpick the new district's 2 supervising judges. Its prosecutors and public defenders would be chosen by the state's white Republican Attorney General. There are a lot of people that are calling this modern-day Jim Crow. Obviously, I am extremely white, as you can see. I don't hide that. But as a black man, when you hear this going on in this country, in the year 2023, it's going on in Mississippi right now. They just passed this bill. What goes through your mind?
When I looked at the demographics of Mississippi in this specific city, we're looking at Jackson, Mississippi, it says 83% black. And when I look at how that is a great thing as somebody who's a minority group, because you want to be able to see yourself in bigger demographics and bigger spaces and be able to find yourself in other cities. I think it's ridiculous how easily this is able to be passed, and this is able to go through. I feel like if this was anywhere else, if this was any other minority group, it would have been, this is reverse racism, this is reverse discrimination. And it's like, we don't have the ability to do those things, even when we are the highest population in a major city. To me, that makes no sense. And also, I feel as though when you see these headlines, what's the purpose of you creating an all-white district? What's the purpose of that? When you have an all-white district where there's all-white court justices, all white people in power, what does it look like if I'm driving through this district and I get pulled over? How do I know there's somebody who's going to be like me or who is going to understand who I am? So we have to make sure, like, hey, we're not going to give you the hardest penalty because we understand you maybe just didn't know the speed limit. Versus, no, you're black in a white district, you get the highest penalty, jail, biggest ticket, get out. You know what I'm saying? It's
the biggest issues facing our I call it our injustice system. And the mayor out there, by the way, seems like a decent guy. And he said in regards to this bill, he said it's oppressive because it strips the right of black folks to vote. It's oppressive because it puts a military force over people that have no accountability to them. It's oppressive because there will be judges who will determine sentences over people's lives. It's oppressive because it redirects their tax dollars to something they don't endorse nor believe in. A white Republican named Trey Lamar, who obviously is a complete buffoon, he's the one who sponsored this bill. He lives in and represents a majority white district more than 2 hours away from Jackson. 2 hours away. Yep. He holds a seat once held by his grandfather, whose legacy includes introducing a 1962 bill to tighten residency requirements for college students, which a local paper at the time reported would have kept Negro James Meredith from filing suit to enter the University of Mississippi. So there is a history of this guy and his family. They sound like a clan family, quite frankly, for lack of a better term. This is the guy who sponsors the bill. A bunch of white Republicans are for this bill. They passed this bill. And now who are the people that are going to suffer? Minorities. Minorities in this county. And I can't believe it. I mean, this would never happen in Las Vegas. I'll tell you that right now. This would never happen in Las Vegas. The people would not allow it to happen. How do they allow it to happen here? I just don't understand. I don't understand.
They're allowed to happen because they have the money, they have the power, and they have the backing. You have to also understand that this is going to set a precedent for many other cities. What does this look like for many other cities when people want to get together and say, we want an all-white community, we want an all-black community? I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to be around people you look like and people that you're able to understand, but there's one thing to group together while pushing another group out. That's ridiculous. I'm somebody who grew up in Chicago, grew up around all black people, and then went out to universities and was able to see diversity and understand that and realize the world is not just you and the people you look like. And at the end of the day, I understand that you may have the power and money to be able to create your own district, but how does that push for equality for all? How does that push for your children to be able to grow up around a world that is true? You're creating a false narrative.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. And Black House Democrats rightly compared this bill to Mississippi's 1890 Constitution, which was drafted explicitly to exclude the Negro from voting through sinister methods of black disenfranchisement. Now, the white Republicans who have passed this bill, they're calling the bill racially neutral, which is unbelievable to me. suggesting that Jackson's black elected representatives who overwhelmingly rejected the legislation have used race as some kind of political maneuver, and have even gone as so far as to say, accusing those same black officials of incompetence in leadership. For lack of a better term, it sounds to me like the people that are running this county now, the white Republicans that are running, they sound like David Duke. They sound like a Klan group. I mean, this is just, it's unbelievable.
It gives very much white power.
No, it really is unbelievable to me. But, you know, if you ask Donald Trump, he'd say there are good people on both sides. That's what he would say. But I just cannot believe we are in 2023 and some of these bills are being passed or even being attempted to be passed, right. and there's not an outcry. I guess there is an outcry, and this will become a national story. It's starting to now. But we'll open up the phone lines if you want to join me on this topic. Give me your thoughts. Also, student loan debt. I'd love to get your opinions on that. The number to call if you want to be a part of the show, 702-221-7283. Let me give out that number again if you want to be a part of the program. Now's the time to do so. 702-221-7283. That's 702-221-SAVE. We've talked about student loan debt relief. It's now in the Supreme Court's hands. $20,000 in student loan debt. The Supreme Court's to decide on this. It could affect over 27 million people, probably more. And of course, we're talking about Mississippi earlier this month. White representatives that happen to all be Republicans approving this bill to create a new district that would be a bunch of all white people. No other races involved here. And there are a lot of, obviously, people, not just minorities, but white people as well, that are very upset at this bill that was just passed. Again, taking your phone calls, 702-221-7283. So we'll take some phone calls when we get back. And I have a story that I want to talk about when we get back, which is it's a pretty wild and crazy one. It involves a teacher in Canada who is transgender, although he claims they are not transgender. This person has Z-cup breasts, and now parents, I guess some of the kids have been taking pictures of the teacher. I have some pictures to show you. 221-7283. Why don't we get right to the phone calls, Jamie? What do you say? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go to Roland. Roland is first up on Pushing Limits. Roland, thank you for calling in, my friend. What's on your mind?
I believe it's Rail Roland.
Rail Roland. Okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
Is that a real name, or is that a real name?
I work for the railroad.
Oh,
actually,
so you're saying when you were born, your mom didn't say, "Hey, let's name our son Rail." Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that. All right,
it's his nickname.
Well, no, I fell on the floor and rolled down the hallway like a bowling ball.
Okay, I got you, Rail. So what's on your mind, my friend? Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Couple of comments. I'd like to first of all weigh in on the Mississippi deal.
Sure.
Well, actually, with the student loan thing, it kind of ties together.
Sure.
You know, the Republicans being puppets for big corporations, they're always going to be against anything that helps the little guy in this country. And, you know, the student loan forgiveness thing, it just tries to level the playing field for people that can no longer afford to send their kids to college, or for the kids to bankrupt themselves going that far into debt. Mm-hmm. So come on, let's help the kids out. You know, I have an 18-year-old son myself right now who's just senior in high school. So what are we going to do?
I'm with you. So let me ask you this. Why is it you think that the overwhelming majority of people that are against student loan debt forgiveness are Republicans? Why is that?
Well, I mean, they've been brainwashed by right-wing propagandists, news, TV, whatever. They're undereducated themselves, and they're easily manipulated, naive people. They vote Republican, and it's against every single interest they could possibly have. They don't understand it.
Jamie, I agree with him. Do you? I mean, I agree with them. I'm with them 100%.
Listen, the Republicans have a mean girl you can't sit with this mentality, and so it's understandable that they wouldn't want somebody who is from a lower demographic to come up to theirs, you know?
But God forbid if we want to help people with student loan debt, they're going to call us woke, or they're going to call us lefty liberals, you know? You know, God forbid, right? I mean, that's what they do, right? Mr. Rail. Can I call you Mr. Rail? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever you guys want. I could also weigh in on the Ohio train derailment, but that's for another time.
Oh, God, yeah. Don't even get me started with that idiot, that MAGA moron who decided to hand out his hats and give out Trump water, and now he's some sort of savior. Yeah. Oh, God, it's so gross. Go. Anything else you got for me, my man? Go ahead. I'll give you the last one.
Just a last touch on the last comment you made there, and then one more thing that Jamie said earlier. I've been with a big railroad company, one of the largest railroads in this country, for 30 years. And I can tell you, there's a lot of stories. If ever you decide to talk railroad again, I'll call in and weigh in pretty heavily on things that most people have no idea is going on with these railroads.
Yeah. Well, all I can tell you is that we all know the deregulation that happened under the Trump administration, but Republicans don't want to talk about that. Somehow they want to blame Joe Biden when they, again, MAGAs struggle. They can spell the word MAGA, but they can't spell the word fact. Hey, Roland, I appreciate you coming on, my friend.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jamie?
Go ahead.
I caught, sorry, don't mean to take time. Just jumped in on this program late, and I caught the tail end of something Jamie was talking about. Okay. He grew up in a black community, wasn't around a lot of white people. Mm-hmm. My situation was exactly opposite of that. You know, I grew up in southeastern Minnesota, the town where they make Spam.
Okay.
Austin, Minnesota.
Hey, real quick, I had Spam for the first time ever 2 weeks ago.
Never had Spam. Never had Spam.
I can't stand it personally.
I didn't like it at all.
No, I don't like Spam
But
either.
Jamie said, that story Jamie said about that really hit home with me because I was not around any black people. You know, it was a very middle-class community. And then I went, first black person I ever saw was Meadowlark Lemon. He came to our school to do a little talk. He was kind of doing a tour, you know, from the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Legend.
It blew me away. I'd never seen black skin before.
Wow. Well, you know what?
And he's dark.
You know what? A lot of the people that I don't blame them from where they were brought up, but anyway, I'm going to tell a story. But Roland, I appreciate you calling in, my friend. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, I used to work with somebody in the radio business. You'll appreciate this story, I think. And this person grew up in Middle America, and we went to Venice Beach. I was there visiting some friends, and you know, a lot of black people at Venice Beach. I don't think that's unreasonable to say. I have no problem with that at all because I'm not a racist, and in fact, I grew up in a city where I was the minority, and I was treated great. And this guy that I'm walking with, who I don't talk to anymore, thank God, was like a deer in headlights. He had that scared look on his face, and I said, "What's your problem, bro? What's your deal?" "This is really bad here." I'm like, "What do you mean this is really?" "Why? Because people all don't look like you." And that's part of the reasons why I don't work with this person anymore.
Right.
But it's like people are so sheltered and so complicit, and they're just in their own world. It's like they're afraid.
Right.
They're afraid. And that's one of the biggest problems we face in this country, because if someone doesn't look like you, if their skin color is not yours, or they come from a different background, or their sexuality is different, I'm going to treat you different.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
See, Brian, this is why I personally believe that while a lot of people think that social media is bad, and I agree with that as well, there's a lot of great positivity behind social media. And one of the biggest things that I appreciate the most about social media is that it shows us that we're all similar than we are different. And a lot of things that we considered lame or weird or out of the ordinary when there wasn't social media when we were younger is now cool now. Think about, you know, anime or being alternative or being just yourself, whether it's through your sexuality or through your ethnicity or through your clothing. You know, now we have different ways to be able to see you through our screens and be able to be like, okay, I do see how, you know, African Americans live, or I do see how.
If you have an open mind, you think that way.
Right.
But if you're, you know, a borderline racist or a racist,
well, you can't change those people's minds.
It's really hard to do that. I tend to agree with you on that. If you have hate in your heart, we really can't. All right, number to call, 702-221-7283. That's 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Tracy. Tracy, what's going on?
Hey, I was just giving you guys a call in, listening in to you, Brian, and also my friend Jamie. And I just want to say that I do have a few comments about the 20K student loan debt.
Sure.
Well, I personally feel like it would be a great idea. I want it to be more than that, but 20K is better than nothing. So I went to HBCU. I had a full scholarship, actually, where I didn't have to pay anything. But, you know, I was young and dumb and in love, and I wanted to live off campus. And I ended up taking out some student loans, and I've been paying back, you know, since then. It's been a good 20 years or so. So, you know, I say all that to say it would be great to have some live and learn help and get rid of that. Even if it's not fully, I'd take 20K. Plus, I've also applied for that, and I've worked in nonprofit environments too. So I hope and pray that I qualify for that.
So let me ask you a question. Tracy. What would you say, and what would be your message to not only the Supreme Court justices that are on the right that I would imagine are going to vote against this, but to so many Republicans out there, because there's not many Democrats that I've talked to that are against this bill. What would you say to the Republicans out there that do not want this student loan debt erased? What would you say to them?
I would say look at the fairness of it all. And I get that maybe fairness is not a word that they subscribe to. But, you know, possibly they should consider it. I mean, think about it like this. A lot of their children are friends with kids or people, or they idolize people who look different than them, who have different experiences than them, who have different educational backgrounds, and they're okay with that. They're children. It's the children that will lead us, right? And so a lot of the Republicans that are in these positions are stuck in tradition. They're stuck in old ways and old ways of thinking. And I think if they were to just take some time out and look and see what are the children doing, how are the youth getting along with each other, and this is something that the youth would say is a good thing to do, and how are they wanting to respond to something like this? And I think that would help them to lead, because they're stuck in their ways. But the youth are the future. Like Whitney Houston said, one of my favorite songs, Greatest Love of All, the children are our future, and they're the ones who have less tainting, they have less bias. You know, they can learn bad behaviors and bad thoughts, obviously, but they're the ones with that thinking. And I think a lot of our kids now are more apt to make friends with people who look like them, to like some of the same things, and they're fine with that. Like, they don't even get, like, why is this racism thing an issue? They don't understand.
They don't.
And so I think if they were to just take some time to look at that, that they could possibly come to a different understanding.
I agree. Very, very well said, Tracy, and I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tracy.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. Isn't that the case with so many issues we have in society, that people are stuck 50, 60, 70, 80 years behind us? We can be talking about gun control, and they're going to be talking about our First Amendment rights and our Second Amendment rights. And I'm like, dude, that's when we had muskets. They didn't have AR-15s hundreds of years ago, right? And she's so right. We are so stuck in the past and not in the present current day. I mean, there are so many people out there that still think it's a sin to have a gay man and another gay man marry, or two women marry. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, these are the same people that voted for Donald Trump, the ultimate sinner. And you want to talk to me about sins? Anyway, oh boy, don't even get me going.
Hey, Brian, can I just say something really quick?
Sure.
I was actually talking to somebody recently, and they were talking about growing up in the church and how they were taught that homosexuality is the biggest sin, right? What I don't understand about any of this sin stuff, I believe in church and all that stuff, you literally read in the Bible that all sins are created equal. Like, they're literally treated the same. Right. I don't understand why people from any demographic or any political stance keep saying this sin is bigger than the other.
I'll tell you
I'll tell you
why. Because
makes no sense.
Because they're bigots. That's why.
It's,
because they want to tell you how to live your life because you're not like them.
There's literally nothing different from being gay than cheating on your wife. Literally.
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
sin-wise.
It's ridiculous. I mean, and many of these people think that being gay is a choice. Now, I'm sure you could find maybe some instances, but like, they make it want to sound like a man will just wake up in the morning straight his whole life, and then one day he'll say, you know what, I think I'm just going to try the other side. No, that's not how it works. Richard Simmons wasn't born straight. Okay, I'm sorry. Ricky Martin was not born straight. Okay,
he just played the part.
Yes, and so what? Let people live their lives. It gets me so angry. And again, it goes back to what I say earlier. Democrats today, and for many years, are very pro-LGBTQ community. They're pro-gay marriage. They want people to live their lives. Stay away.
Right.
And it's the Republicans that want to talk about, you know, we don't want government involved in our lives. What are you talking about? Right. You're the ones that are trying to tell women what to do with their bodies.
That's where I say the contradiction comes in. You can't be about individualism if you're not really about individualism. I'm the biggest believer that do what you want to do in your life as long as you're not hurting yourself and others. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care what you want to praise. I don't care what you want to do behind closed doors. Right. As long as you're not hurting me in the process or hurting yourself or hurting somebody else, live your life.
Yeah, they got some Republicans out there that think it's just a horrible sin to be gay, yet these are the same people that will defecate on Nancy Pelosi's desk and attack police officers and storm the Capitol.
These are the same people, if you actually look up Pornhub's demographics. I can say porn on the radio,
You can
right?
say that. You can, you can say porn all you want.
If you look at the demographics of Pornhub, they literally show you that in these Republican states, these right-wing red states, majority of their Pornhub searches are trans and gay.
Why am I not surprised?
Make it make sense. My thing is, a hit dog will holler, period. At the end of the day, if you're so gung-ho about somebody else's life that you're not even living, something's going on in your life that you're trying to hide.
Vegas odds right now are up. I shouldn't say that. The pushing limits odds are up. Odds that Mike Pence is gay. Now, I don't care if he's gay or not, but I seem to think that those that are so anti-gay are usually the ones that are afraid to come out and they're gay themselves, right? Mike Pence, his wife works at a school where you cannot be gay to attend the school and you cannot be gay to work at the school. I mean, I understand it's private, but that is the definition of discrimination.
It is.
That is the definition of discrimination, and I am so tired of it.
We need an all-white district.
Oh God, it's so
discrimination.
Brutal, that's a pretty good white voice, by the way. That was pretty good. That was very impressive.
I tried.
Very impressive. 7-0. God, I hope I don't sound like that. So I am a very white man. My name is Brian Shapiro, and I work for KNPR. No, I'm sorry. The people at KNPR are very nice people, but you know what I'm talking about.
I get you.
702-221-7283. The number to call again if you want to be a part of the program. 702-221-7283. Let's go to John. John, what's going on, man?
What's up, John?
Hey, man.
What's up, John?
Just a quick comment about your trip to Venice Beach there, Brian.
Yes, sir.
J.D. Sharp is a stiff. He's a deadbeat.
I'm not going to use name calling. I'm not confirming or denying that's who I brought to Venice Beach. But go ahead.
Hey, Jamie, I wish you well, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks, John.
Look, I'm a proud liberal Democrat. As a matter of principle, I oppose this debt forgiveness primarily because some people did not go to college because they did not want to incur the debt. So it's really penalizing them. But on a practical matter, if it gets passed, I'll applaud it. Look, it's just really clear. Republicans oppose anything that will in any way impede their ability to lower the tax rates on the top 5-10%. That's really what it's all about. It's do away with regulations and lower the tax rates. So Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and Paris Hilton and all these spoiled little rich kids can get more money. And I think it's when you were trying to say, I believe, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Jamie, but if these powers that be, these wealthy powers that be, just saw what a struggle it was for us, they would be empathetic. I would caution you against that point of view. Again, if I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I think that's what you were trying to say. Not only will they not be empathetic, Jamie, they want to hurt you. They want to keep you down. They want to keep you impoverished. And the flashpoint for me that really jars my applesauce is this whole canard about choice, school choice, and vouchers. That is just another way of saying we're going to destroy the schools in the inner cities, and we want people that are fortunate enough to send their kids to private schools, we want them to have a subsidy. What funds would go to paying taxes for the public school, we want to take that out of the system, destroy the public school systems even more, and benefit the rich even more. So it's just, if you are not in the top 5%, you should absolutely, positively, without any shadow of a doubt, be a Democrat and vote for Democratic pencils. Because Donald Trump doesn't care about you at all. Well, most of the Republicans don't care about you at all. They laugh at you. You're their clown.
Well, you're not going to hear an argument from me, John. Always good to hear from you, my friend. I wish I could argue with you, John, but we usually agree on a lot. So I appreciate you calling in, my friend.
All right, great show, guys.
All right, thanks, John. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't disagree with him to an extent. And I understand the point that he's trying to make, which is, what about the people that didn't go to college because they didn't want to get in student loan debt? Again, that goes back to a same thought process where I will disagree with John, which is, well, I had to pay off my student loan debt. I had to suffer, so now you have to suffer. Times change, people change. And here's the kicker here, right? If you get rid of this $20,000 in student loan debt. There are a lot of people out there that might have under $20,000 in student loan debt.
Yep.
And you get rid of that, and you get rid of that monthly payment that they have to make. The payment, then you're pumping more money into the economy, and now you're going to give them more money to go out to see a movie, go out to a restaurant,
go buy a car.
Yeah. I mean, you're pumping money into the economy. It's actually going to help the economy a lot. I think it's not going to hurt the economy. College tuition is a joke. The money is a joke. It's way too much money to get a college degree. And by the way, just because you have a college degree today I'm not saying you shouldn't go to college, but just because you have a college degree doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a really, really good job, right? I mean, I think we all could agree on that. Number to call, by the way, 702-221-7283. That's 702-221-SAVE. We got Jamie D in the house co-hosting with me today. As I mentioned, coming up a little bit later on in the program, about a half an hour from now, we'll be speaking with Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports. The reason why we're going to be speaking to Mike, because it's turned into a national story. We got this 20-year-old UNLV defensive lineman. Name is Ryan Keeler. He passes away in his dorm, but now we're learning some new information about what might have happened and what led up to his death, and TMZ has the story. And Mike Babcock is going to be joining us a little bit later on in the program to talk a little bit about that. Also, the Kobe Bryant's family, they've just received a $29 million settlement in court. The reason? Well, if you remember the photos that were passed back and forth to people, EMT workers and some police officers, disgusting, taking pictures of dead bodies of Kobe Bryant, Gigi, and others, and then passing it along to people. That can't happen. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and that settlement a little bit later on in the program as well. And maybe some people will think twice before they do something despicable like that. And, you know, we got a big UNLV basketball game tonight. UNLV at home against Utah State. Speaking of white, Utah's very white, but that's okay. Right. But Utah State coming to town. And, God, there's so much going on in Vegas in the next week or two. We got the big UFC fights this weekend. John Jones. I didn't think that guy would ever get back into the octagon after the drunk driving and everything else, the assaults. But John Jones is back in the octagon. He's going to be at T-Mobile Arena. He's fighting Saturday night. Not to say that there's not a lot of stuff going on in LA.
You said you wouldn't expect him to be back in the octagon after you had all those things?
No, I didn't.
I said octagon, but, sir, if he went through all those things, he needs his money. I would 100% see him going back into the ring.
I think John Jones is okay financially, but
I
hear what you're saying. But, yeah, John Jones is a sandwich short of a picnic. There's no question about that. But he's going to be back in the ring or in the octagon. I always say the ring because I'm a boxing fan on Saturday. So we got that going on. We got Major League Baseball spring training in Vegas starting this weekend. The Oakland A's are going to be in town. They're playing a couple of games this weekend. We got the West Coast Conference Tournament this week. We've got the Pac-12 Tournament, the WAC. You might have heard the ads here on KSHP. We've got the Big West Tournament. We've got the Mountain West Conference Tournament next week. I mean, there are so many sporting events going on in Las Vegas over the course of, and probably, and I'm forgetting the Vegas Golden Knights, NHL hockey tonight. They're at T-Mobile Arena. Tough choice to make, but I am actually choosing UNLV basketball tonight over the Vegas Golden Knights because it is senior night. It is senior night. All right, so here's what we're going to do, Jamie. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, this is a wild and crazy story coming out of Canada.
I'm excited.
It involves Z-cup breasts. Yes, it does involve. No, I'm not talking about Chris Wynn. No, that was just a terrible joke. What a cheap shot at Chris Wynn. He's going to hate me for that joke. But no, there is a teacher in Canada, claims to be a transgender. I don't know. I don't care to really inspect that, but claims to be a transgender. I don't have a problem with that. But he has these Z-cup breasts, and parents are claiming it's like a fetish. And the kids are taking pictures of it, and now they're trying to come up with some sort at the bottom of the hour. Well, I should say in about 15 minutes or so about this tragedy, UNLV football player passing away at the age of 20. More information is coming out on that. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care. They're located right down the street here, Sahara and Jones, and I got to tell you, they're awesome. 6125 West Sahara. I was in and out of there in 20 minutes. Most urgent cares, hours on end. I was in and out of there in 20 minutes. Great staff. They take most insurances, and if you don't have insurance, $95 payment. You can't beat it. Please give them a call, 702-248-0554. You could also visit them online at SaharaWestUrgentCare.com. All right, so there are some stories that are just bizarre, right? Just weird. And by the way, I talked about transgender issues on this show. A lady who ran for office here, Eva Chase, I supported her candidacy, and she did pretty well. She got a lot of votes, transgender woman. No problem with what you do with your body. It's your body. Do what you want with it. I don't want you to harm yourself, but, you know, listen, if you want to be a transgender, whatever you want to be, I support you 100%. I just want to be clear, I'm not one of those people. But this is a very weird story coming out of Canada. Apparently, some parents in a Toronto local school are launching a legal challenge against the school board. The parents want the Halton School District to enact a dress code for teachers. This district, Jamie, is where teacher Kayla Lemieux is her name. I would imagine no relation to Mario. But Kayla Lemieux, she is known for her size Z breasts. Now, this was somebody that was born a man. I hope I'm getting this right, but this is a picture of her with her Z breasts. Very, very interesting.
Brian.
Yeah, very interesting here. I can make some very inappropriate jokes, but I won't do it right now. I won't do it right now. So they're launching this legal fund because they're claiming that this teacher is using these Z breasts as a fetish. Now, apparently he is transitioning to a she. He, she, I don't know what to call this person. I don't know. What do I call this person? I don't know.
Do that.
Am I supposed to say she?
I mean, yes, you have to respect
I
their
don't know.
pronouns still.
So this is a she.
Yes.
Okay.
Their pronouns.
So is it fair to say, but then why can't I call this person a transgender woman?
The reason, okay, so
Explain that to me.
I agree with you. I understand why you want to call her.
I don't know what to call this person.
I agree.
Yeah.
But this is where my positivity comes in.
Okay,
I'm gonna call you whatever you want to call me because I'm whatever
I'm
you want
fine
to
with
call
that.
you.
What does this person want to be called? A she?
So she wants to be called a she.
Fine,
Now the story
fine.
behind this, real quick, is that what I'm hearing and what I've researched myself is that she was born a woman, apparently, per her doctor. This is allegedly.
Not born a man.
Allegedly. I mean, make sure I use that journalistic word, allegedly. And she has been living her life presenting as a man this entire time. And just recently, as of 2021.
Well, here's what would clear this up. Does this person have a penis?
You know what?
I mean, that would kind of clear up the conversation, wouldn't it? Like,
well,
do you or do you not?
But technically, Google research says that even if you do have a penis, but you have very big breasts like a woman, you're considered intersex. So you have to get a surgery to actually claim your true gender.
This is where I get confused.
It is very confusing. Trust me, I know.
This is where I get. If you have male genitalia, in my opinion, I'll call you whatever you want because, quite frankly, I really don't care.
Same.
But
I'm not
by
touching it.
definition, I'll be respectful. But by definition, if you have male genitalia, you're born a man. I'll call you whatever you want.
What if you have both?
Well, there's a term for that, right?
There is, but what would you give that person? He, she, both? He, she? Like
I would call that person, but there's a term for that. So are you saying that's what this person is?
Right, but what pronouns would you give that person?
Whatever they want. Doesn't bother me at all.
So same respect for this person, even though she's weird.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you're born with just male genitalia,
I agree.
You're born a man.
I agree.
Right? And if you're born with female genitalia,
I agree.
You're born a woman.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't be called something else if you're transgender, whatever.
I agree.
I'm very respectful to that. All I'm saying is this, okay?
Point it to this camera too so they can see it.
Yes. So, for lack of a better term, to some of the students, they might find this a little distracting, right? Can we agree on that?
It's extremely distracting.
Might be a little distracting.
No, not a little bit.
By the way, how does this person live their life with boobs like that?
That looks extremely uncomfortable.
You can't swing a golf club. Let's at
you
least
can't swing your arm at that point.
You can't. I'm just trying to understand this. So, the parents are angry because apparently these kids are taking pictures of their teacher and they're putting it on social media every now. So now the school is saying no more pictures. You can't do that. A GoFundMe page has been set up, launched by the parents this year. The last page raised nearly $10,000. A concerned parent described Lemieux as a man who dresses up as a woman who has size Z fetish fake boobs. Now, I would say that might be a little bit insensitive. I'm not going that route, but I could also understand why some people would call it a distraction. The teacher's inappropriate attire and enormous prosthetic breasts. Sorry, I'm trying not to laugh here.
It's funny.
Have created a significant distraction. By the way, fake or real, that causes distractions for many men in society.
Brian, before you continue, let me say this.
Yes.
I know a lot of women out there who have very big breasts. And
you do? Can you introduce them to me, please?
Oh, my gosh, Brian.
Go ahead.
I do have one in D.C.
Sorry.
You are from the
Go
East
ahead.
Coast.
Go ahead.
Listen, East Coast connection. But, to all the women out there, trust me, I don't know how I feel because I'm not a woman, but I've heard the stories and I can understand that it's just real. But in this topic, I just can't. It's hard not to laugh, Brian. When you say you want to laugh, I got to be with you. I got to be with you.
So apparently, one of the parents said The teacher's inappropriate attire and enormous prosthetic breasts have created a significant distraction that has led to serious safety concerns for students and staff at the school. The school has had 3 bomb threats since September 2000.
That's ridiculous.
They're claiming that there have been bomb threats.
That's ridiculous. 3.
They're getting that confused with these 2 bombs right here. I don't know.
Brian.
No, but why would they correlate bomb threats to a teacher that allegedly has fake boobs?
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. When you have people in your space that you don't want to see, there's been bomb threats when they find out there's a lot of gay students at people's schools. There's been bomb threats when they have Muslims in public schools.
Right.
So, I mean, this is no different. This is just people who, like you said, are sitting at home and saying, why are they in my school like that? Like, it's...
So you think this is just hate? Like,
it's hate.
It's
hate.
Okay,
it's
a
hate crime.
But I gotta. Okay, so then I have to ask you this: whether it's kindergarten or 6th graders or middle school or high school, are you comfortable?
Listen. I'm not
with
for
a teacher
this.
looking like this.
Not at all.
Teaching kids.
Listen, let me tell you this, Brian. If this person, Kayla, if you actually read more of the story out there, audience, they're saying that her neighbors allegedly have seen her without her prosthetic breast, and that's ridiculous. If she really is out here dressing up in fetish gear for school, you need to be out of the school system because you're a weirdo.
Okay,
period.
so hold on. They're claiming that these are not
prosthetic.
On her.
Yep.
Okay.
The neighbor has, if you go to Google search, you're actually able to see a side-by-side picture of her as a man and hers, her in that picture, and that's just ridiculous. Now let's talk about the facts. If this person actually had these breasts and wanted to be like everybody else, my body is my body, and no body shaming. I support no body shaming. I support you being who you are, but you could still be appropriate with your approach in your body. If you're out on the beach somewhere, that's fine. But you're in a school system with impressionable children who are looking at your breast. And my thing is, in these pictures, why do I see your nipples down to your areolas? That is, at that point, disrespectful and inappropriate.
So here's something interesting.
Horrible imagery for kids.
This picture was taken a few weeks ago. And in this picture, it appears to be Lemieux, taken out wearing men's clothing, minus the prosthetics and wig, pictured in the summer, by the way, of 2022. So there are claims that this person dresses like a man, has a wig that is not this person's real hair, and these are not real boobs. So I guess that brings me to my next question, which is this. Do you think that it is the right of the school board and parents to know if this person is actually real or fake? Like, if it is fake, should a person be allowed to be a teacher and wear prosthetic boobs and claim to be somebody that they're not?
So are you asking me, should the school board ask them what their gender is?
Yeah.
No, I don't think you should ask people. That's too personal. And as it pertains to the character being who they want to be, I feel as though as long as you're appropriate with whatever you're transitioning with or through or figuring out, do you just be appropriate? That's way too much for impressionable children. On top of that, I did read more stories about those who are transgender. And again, I can never speak for a group that I'm not a part of. And I would never even speak about a whole group that I'm a part of because I can't speak for the majority. But there are people who have spoke about this situation. They said that when they were transitioning, they did put on prosthetics so that could help them with their transition. And if that's what this person's going through, all power to you, but be appropriate. Where's your bra? Where is your shirt that's not see-through?
But hold on, to this person's credit, how do you find a bra for that?
There's bras out there for that. Trust me.
There are. Parachute? What are you going to find for this?
Rope.
I mean, seriously.
There's ways. There's ways.
How could you sit down and have dinner at a table?
But my thing is again, I don't even want to do too much because there are women who have breasts like that. I actually do know a woman who had breasts like that who had to get them reducted. So that's one thing that I do know to be true. But you're out. But
this size?
Yes, and she was very appropriate. I swear. I actually had a girl in high school. Her name was Jessica. No lie. Had boobs that way in high school and she got a breast reduction. And my thing is, she was always talking about her back hurting, and I get that. So I don't want to take away from the women who are born women who actually have those issues, or people who do have the disease.
Do you believe that this is real? Do you believe that there's any chance that these are actually real boobs on this person's body?
With this person,
can't be real.
With this person, no. I mean, think about it. It's the wig, it's the makeup, it's the hair, and
it can't be real.
With this person, absolutely not. Like I said, it's disrespectful imagery. And they need to do better.
Listen, if this person wants to dress up like this and go out to a night in the town, go right ahead.
Do you, but not
I'm
around kids.
I'm not going to be hitting on this person. It's not my type, but
it's somebody's type, not mine.
Somebody's, then that's fine. Let this person go out at night with adults and do whatever the hell they want, so long as it's not illegal. But I find this to be distracting, and as you use the term, disrespectful in front of kids, children, when you're trying to teach a class and educate kids. I just find this. I find that this is not real. This is not. I know I keep putting up the picture.
No, I'm not even laughing
at that.
It's
distracting to me.
You're distracting me.
If I'm talking to a MAGA about and getting into a debate about something serious, I'm just going to put this picture up. It'll distract.
You should
them.
put it right there next to your face.
It'll distract their train of thought.
Wait, Brian, before you go on, did you see the video of her? Because she's a shop teacher. Did you see her actually cutting wood and how close her breasts were to the saw?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, I'm like, oh my gosh.
I did. Is this what this teacher teaches?
Yes,
so
it's a shop class.
It's not like U.S. history.
No, she's a shop teacher.
It'd be funny if she taught physical education. It's a shop teacher.
A shop teacher.
Wow.
I'm telling you, if you look at the pictures and the videos, it's crazy.
Isn't that interesting?
That's
I can make
dangerous.
I can make a horrible joke and say that she's around wood all day and she happens to have Z-cup breasts, but I won't make that joke because it would be very inappropriate.
You made it already.
It'd be very inappropriate. I'd never make a joke like that. So what do you think is going to happen here? I mean, is this teacher going to get fired? Because then you're going to have lawsuits. I don't think you
Personally,
can do that.
I think the school, Canada is more, well, I can't speak for Canada, but what I've seen so far, it seems to be more liberal than the United States. It seems to be more pushing for people's individualism, unlike what the United States says they're doing.
Right.
I think they're going to push as much as they can until they can't anymore. I think because they're already doing it, but now that this is making national headlines, I think everybody folds when this gets on social media, when it starts trending. Everybody folds when things starts trending. I want to see. I don't personally foresee them holding off for this for too long. But I want to see what they do, because are you going to stick to what you believe in, or are you going to fold because things are going trending? I think that it's really cool for those who stick to what they believe in and really push for rights for all. But again, you can push for rights for all while still having respectful imagery, period.
Like, I find it interesting because when I hear the term GoFundMe page, it's usually could be a victim of a crime or an assault. It could be somebody that's suffering from a disease, and whatever the case may be. I would say 99% of GoFundMe pages are legit, and it's for real serious situations where people need help. Right. And I support that, right? And now we have a GoFundMe page set up because our teachers' boobs are too big.
Where's that money going to go?
I find that very strange. Like, I find that, I don't know, I find that
it's
a
weird.
little weird,
It's weird,
inappropriate. I don't think GoFundMe should be set up for those purposes.
A petition, yes, but what is the money going to be used towards? Buying her a bra, rope, a parachute?
They're not going to fire her. There's going to be too many lawsuits.
Yeah, they're not going to. They can't fire her because it's discrimination, but they can enact a uniform for students. I mean, for teachers, a dress code. They can. That's not discriminatory.
No, it's not at all.
But then again, like I said, you do want to. Oh, you know what? I did see this. They actually do have a dress code for students, but not teachers. That is a little weird. That is a little weird. Why are teachers allowed to express themselves however they want, but students aren't?
Is that everywhere or just this school?
I can only speak for this school. That's all I saw for this school.
Because if you're a teacher, there has to be some sort of dress code.
Right, and obviously not, because look at the Z cups and the nipples and the areola.
Yeah, you can't. You have to wear a bra, right? If you're a teacher.
That's what I'm saying. That even if you do.
If you're a male teacher, you can't just show up with like boxers or shorts.
Right, exactly. You don't want your print showing. I find that disrespectful.
It is disrespectful.
Yeah.
What do you think the students are talking about in class?
Oh, they're making fun of this teacher so much. I mean, let's be honest. We were all kids. We're making fun of her now. Come on. While trying to be a little bit respectful. But these kids don't have any coof. They don't care.
Yeah, but I don't feel bad for this person because they're doing it to themselves in a classroom atmosphere. If somebody was making fun of this person outside of your professional career, then I would find that to be extremely inappropriate. But I think when you do something like this and you do it in the classroom as a teacher, I think it's a distraction, and it's very inappropriate.
Now, I do see we have Michael Babcock here, but I want to make one quick comment. You did speak about how they do have a rule now where you aren't supposed to take pictures of people until you get their consent.
Sure.
While I don't agree with trying to govern people, I do agree with the fact of taking pictures of people and posting without their consent.
That's also inappropriate.
That's inappropriate.
I completely agree.
That's rude, because I wouldn't want that happening to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wish in high school people took pictures of me, women took pictures of me, and were looking at it. That would be a good thing for me, but that never happened. Anyway, all right, let's switch topics now. Really difficult story to talk about. UNLV defensive lineman. He's only 20 years old. Ryan Keeler passing away. TMZ's been on this story, and they've done a great job in covering this story. And Mike Babcock is joining us right now.
What's up, Mike?
Mike, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. How's it going?
Of course, guys. Thank you for having me. It's going well. How was everything?
Doing good, man. And always appreciate you taking the time. We know how busy you are, so let's get right down to this. This is a national story. You guys have covered this. We've heard a lot of different stories. Was it UNLV athletic department's fault? Was it the trainer's fault? What's the latest on this Ryan Keeler story? What can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, Brian, the more answers you get, the more questions that you have here. I mean, like you said, the kid, man, he was only 20 years old. He was a young guy, by all accounts, at least before that week that led up to his death. He was, a healthy kid, a healthy man, and something went wrong. So he's ultimately found deceased. He's laying in his bed on February 20th, and his coach essentially is doing a welfare check, and he tries to get inside. He bangs on the door, can't get inside, ends up actually kicking down the door, rushing to Ryan Keeler's bedroom, and he finds him cold to the touch, laying in bed, facing the ceiling, and there was an empty prescription bottle next to him. And obviously called 911. It was about 1 p.m. They rushed to the scene, but he was already gone. There was nothing they could do. So now you ask, what happened? Well, starting on February 13th, Ryan had told people close to him that he hadn't been feeling well, and he felt sick. He felt nauseous. He ends up going to the doctor, and on the 17th, he is prescribed some sort of medication from the director of sports medicine. Now, that was the title in the police report. Does not say, and this is really, I think, the number one question: what medication was he prescribed?
Right.
And did he take too much of it? Right. And that's what people want to know here. Again, the prescription bottle was empty. To add even more questions and to kind of murky things up even more, on the 19th, somebody who was close to Ryan said they saw him at dinner and that he had told his buddy that he was feeling better. So doesn't feel good on the 13th. 17th, he's prescribed medication. On the 19th, he's actually out and says he's doing better. And then on the 20th, he's found dead in bed at 1 p.m. It doesn't make much sense.
No. So, Mike, we've heard several different, people are throwing out different things here. Some people are saying, could it have been suicide? Other people are saying, do you blame UNLV, the athletic trainer, for prescribing something or maybe not helping this young man enough? And I've heard so many different storylines, and nobody seems to know the truth. My understanding is this is still under investigation. Yeah. Have police ruled out any wrongdoing?
Look, I don't. That's certainly not the number one theory here. I think that the police would tell you, hey, we're just not sure yet. There are still questions that we don't have answers to. Toxicology reports, what was in his system, all of that matters, right? But right. As far as them suspecting foul play or anything like that, no, it certainly doesn't appear that that's the case. But I think you're right. And what was the medication that was prescribed? Was it and it's pure speculation here. What was it? Something that shouldn't have been prescribed? Was it something that was abused? Any one of those answers could be the reason that he ended up dying. All we know is that you have a kid who was only 20 years old who wasn't feeling well, and he's not here anymore. And it's obviously right. He wasn't a 95-year-old man. I mean, this is something that should not have happened. And you've got to find out now why it did happen. His family want answers. His friends want answers. And right now we just don't have them.
Right. And so, Mike, I want to know, what is this national story going to do for our football players and our sports departments at different colleges? Do you think this is going to change the regulation for how they're going to be prescribed medicine, or how they're going to be checked on when they're taking their medicine? Because we do see that in certain sports like football, there are a lot of mental issues with these players, especially when they're getting tackled and hit often.
Right. I mean, you guys know, you talk to a football player, they'll tell you they're never 100% healthy. You're healthy before the season starts, maybe, and then that's it. You're in pain. You're hurt as the season goes along. And I have no idea what he was prescribed, but certainly on a broad level, we see football players, we see athletes prescribed powerful medications, narcotics, and they're dangerous. And look what happened with Tyler Skaggs and the Angels, and it would not be the first time where we saw athletes who had possibly abused prescription medication before. So we'll see what happens. But I think that brings up a good point and a good conversation, that you got to be careful. You've got to keep a close eye, especially when you're prescribing powerful medication. And look, maybe it was nothing powerful and had nothing to do with his death. Maybe it was who knows, something that was harmless, but maybe it wasn't. And that's the question that they just have not answered yet. And it's because of how young he was, it's a story that's gotten a lot of attention, and people are demanding answers. Like you said, it's not just a story in Las Vegas or Nevada. It's a story everywhere. You got people in California talking about it. I've had friends in New Jersey ask me about this story. So it's something that's being talked about by a lot of people right now.
Right. Now, Mike, so Brian did just ask you, did the police suspect foul play or anything of that nature? You did say we don't know. And I don't want to allege anything, but what does this mean for documentation for the director of sports medicine? I mean, I don't want to put all the pressure on him, but you prescribe something to a football player with no documentation. How do we not know? It's March, what, 2nd, 1st? It's March 1st right now, and we don't know. This happened February 20th. What medicine was prescribed? Are you not supposed to document what you're giving to these students, to these players, to these humans? Yeah,
I think that's a great point. They better hope this sports director of medicine better hope that there was a legitimate reason for prescribing whatever was prescribed. Certainly, if you were to give something to somebody that they didn't need and then they abused it, or they took it as they were told to, and something happened to them, you could obviously see where that might just not be a situation where you lose your job, but that could end up entering into some sort of criminal activity. So, you look, for their sake, let's hope that they have documented this. And, look, a lot of times there's a difference between what they tell the media and what they have internally documented. So for their sake, they better hope that there's some documentation of what was given to Ryan Keeler.
And when you guys get any new information, I know you're going to put it out there on TMZ. You guys have done a great job in covering this story. Mike, I know you got to run. Before I let you go, I know you're a big UFC MMA fan, as am I. You're a big boxing fan. John Jones, you guys have covered this guy profusely throughout the years, maybe for some for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
He's gotten in some trouble. What do you make of John Jones back in the ring, in the octagon in Las Vegas this weekend?
I can't wait. I think it's a great card. I'm excited about Bo Nickel, the 3-time NCAA champion. He's fighting, making his debut. But yeah, John Jones, I'm just to watch John fight a guy who has never been beaten, although he has a loss on his record. I'm so curious to see what he looks like as a guy who is going to be carrying 30, 40 pounds more muscle. I cannot wait for the fight. They probably are the two best athletic MMA fighters in the world at heavyweight. They both they may as well weigh 170 pounds. They're such great athletes.
Oh, no question.
I'm so pumped. I talked to Dana before, Brian, and Dana said, look, if John's not the best already, if he goes and he beats Cyril Gane at heavyweight, he is without any shadow of a doubt the best MMA fighter of all time. So that's where Dana White stands on that. I cannot wait for this fight card this weekend.
Great for the sport. Mike, always a pleasure having you on. We know how busy you are, and I know you got to run, but I appreciate you giving us an update on this story. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. Always a pleasure having you on, brother.
Thanks, guys. Anytime. It was my pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike.
Mike Babcock, TMZ Sports, joining us. It's incredible because I remember when TMZ first, and you're an LA guy, so you know TMZ. I remember when TMZ first got out there, a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people were saying, oh, it's another entertainment celebrity tabloid, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And I remember, to me at least, the changing of the guard from TMZ, at least for me, was the O.J. Simpson story out of Palace Station. Because TMZ got that audio first. Mm-hmm. And I believe that if TMZ didn't get all that information, maybe O.J. Simpson never gets arrested.
Facts.
They would have still had video of OJ, but the actual audio of what took place in that room is the main reason why OJ went to jail. And then people started to say, okay, maybe TMZ, they break news, and we're going to be talking about the Kobe Bryant story coming up next. TMZ was the first to report that Kobe had lost his life and his daughter and so many other innocent people. TMZ, I'm just going to say, they are extremely legit. They almost always get their stories correct. They have more sources than anybody else in the industry. And by the way, it could be a political story. It could be a sports story. It could be anything. It seems like they almost always get the story first. And while there are some publications here in Las Vegas that have been reporting on this Ryan Keeler tragic story, TMZ has put out more information than anybody else on this story. And it has turned into a national story. And the reason why is because it's rare.
Yeah.
You know, when you have a young athlete that seems to be in very good health, he's already played for UNLV football. He's made appearances in games. And, you know, this is a guy who, for all intents and purposes, to what we know, was in pretty good physical condition. And then at 20 years old, you die. And there are weird circumstances around this death. There needs to be answers. And I am not one of those people. There are some people on social media that are saying, oh, this is the UNLV's fault. It's the trainer's fault. We don't know. I'm not going to speculate. Could that be possible? Yes. But it could. There's a lot of possibilities here. He could have, and again, I don't know this, but he could have abused the drugs that were given to him. Yeah. It could be a number of different things. So we just don't know yet. But like Mike Babcock said, the family deserves to have answers. His friends deserve to have answers. This cannot happen. And, you know, I don't, you know, sometimes I guess it's my job to speculate.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, and again, it's just an educated guess, I would guess that maybe he took too much of what he was prescribed.
Yep.
I could be wrong on that, but based on the circumstance, and they found an empty prescription bottle, I find that to be a little ironic.
It's very suspicious.
Yeah, he could have taken too much. Now, I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. But based on what I've heard about this story, that's what it appears to me.
That's what it points to.
But again, I don't know for sure. My thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends.
Sure.
This is a terrible, terrible story. And I don't want to put blame on anybody yet. I want to find out what exactly took place, what exactly happened. But for somebody that just lost his sister, I just lost my sister Laura at the age of 37, less than, a month and a half ago. People who, you know, people make mistakes. People, and this is a different circumstance probably, but, you know, the drug issues in this country are not getting better. They're getting worse when it comes to fentanyl, drug addictions, and we just don't do enough in this country. And yes, I do believe doctors overprescribe drugs. There's prescription drugs. There's no question about that. I've always felt that way. So we'll continue to monitor this story. And again, thoughts and prayers go out to the UNLV family. I would imagine tonight at the UNLV basketball game, they will do something to honor this young man. At least I would hope they would. They usually are pretty good with this sort of stuff. Maybe honor him in some way or another. UNLV basketball game tonight. We'll get to that a little bit later on here in the next segment. Also, coming up next, I want to talk a little bit about Kobe Bryant. You know, Kobe not really in the news lately, but his family's in the news today, and the reason why is because his family just received a very large financial judgment. We'll tell you why. Why did joining us in studio? She's known as America's Psychiatrist. She does a right-wing talk show. She's appeared just about everywhere, Dr. Phil everywhere else. And the lady who's joining us, she's a clinical psychologist, and she is going to make the case that John Fetterman is not fit for office. Oh, boy. That is going to be a battle, and a battle segment for sure. She's going to be joining us on the show tomorrow as well. So that's going to be very interesting. So certainly look forward to that. We got Jamie D in the house.
What's up?
Joining me today, all the way from L.A., ladies and gentlemen, coming out just to do the show with me today. So I appreciate that. And as I've mentioned, we're having just a few, trying out some different co-hosts for the show. And Jamie's doing a great job. So, Jamie, you know, in our lifetime, I know you're only 28 years old. I say only because I'm old. I'm 42.
Dang, you putting my age out there?
I
My
know,
fans don't know my age yet.
28. 28. But, you know, a lot of celebrities every year, you know, we lose some big name celebrities. Tom Sizemore looks like he's on life support right now. It doesn't look like he's going to make it, sadly. Anne Heche is a name that comes to mind. Bob Saget. We've lost so many people over the course of just the last year. I was upset when Bob Saget died because he's done this show with me, and I've interviewed him probably a half a dozen times, and he's just such a great guy. And I was so sad to see him, but he's such a great talent and such a great dude and does so much for charity. But really, in my lifetime, the only celebrity, and I was pretty heartbroken when Prince passed away. First album I ever bought was a Prince album. But the only celebrity death for me that really, really hit me hard, where I got emotional, was Kobe Bryant, for a lot of different reasons. First of all, I was always a big Kobe Bryant fan, right? I loved Kobe Bryant, the basketball player, but I think it was just the circumstances, too, around his death, right? His young daughter. I saw Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gigi at a Las Vegas Aces game about 6 months before he died, and I had interviewed him a number of times when he was here for USA Basketball, and he looked at me. I looked at him. I went up to him, and he goes, "What's up, man?" And I think he recognized me from all the times I've interviewed him. He didn't know my name, but just the fact that he recognized me was kind of cool. I shook his hand. I said, "It's good to see you. Good to see you back here in Vegas." He's like, "Oh yeah, we're loving it," And I just shook his hand. It was just a quick hello, because I probably when USA Basketball was here, I probably interviewed him every day for like 2 weeks straight.
Oh wow.
So I remember it was a picture in the newspaper of me interviewing Kobe, and I was able to get that picture, and I blew it up, and I always put it on my walls remembering him, me interviewing one of the greatest. And,
that's a great achievement.
Yeah, and when he died, I remember, because we're going to talk a little UNLV basketball. And I know you're in LA, and you shouldn't know anything about UNLV men's basketball, and quite frankly, that's understandable because they're not very good. But I remember we were driving to a UNLV basketball game. At the time, I was doing a show on another station. And my producer at the time, Jason Stein, my producer at the time, said, "Hey, I got some bad news for you." I'm like, "What?" "Kobe just died." I'm like, "What? That can't be true. What?" And then he cites TMZ in a helicopter crash, and I said,
"Yep,
yeah, they're not going to screw that up. That's probably true." And then later that night, I'm watching the footage on every network, right? It's a huge story. And then you learn about, the people who died on that helicopter along with Kobe and his daughter and the several other kids that were young that died on that flight, and the baseball coach and the basketball coach. And it was just heartbreaking and gut-wrenching, because the night before, if you recall, Kobe was with his daughter sitting courtside at the Laker game.
A picture that went around the world.
Right. And the circumstances around that death, and Kobe was just starting his second part of his life, not just the business side, but helping people, and whether it be his basketball camps and helping kids and charity work. And Kobe wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. He paid for those mistakes, but he had reconciled with his wife, his beautiful wife, Vanessa. And it seemed like he was really enjoying retirement and being a father and a good husband.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, it just hit me hard, man. And I still think about Kobe and how horrible that whole circumstance was and still is. And then, we learned in the weeks, months, and even years after his death what some EMT workers and some police officers were doing at the crime, not a crime scene, but at the scene, right? Now, without getting too graphic, but in this situation, I think you have to. Bodies were burnt, dismembered. When you're going at that rate of speed and the chopper catches fire, it's going to be a gruesome scene.
Yep.
Right? These bodies, many of them were unrecognizable. So what did some, not the majority, I want to be clear on that, but what did several individuals decide to do? First responders, they decided to take pictures of Kobe Bryant's dead body.
This is exactly why I said social media gets annoying sometimes.
It's horrible. And they took pictures of his daughter. And my understanding, based on the evidence, is that some of these people were showing them to people they didn't even know very well.
Why would this even be your first thought process?
I know. You have to be a very sick person, right?
You are a sick person for
very
doing
sick.
that.
Yeah. I mean, they showed one EMT worker went to a local bar, from what we heard in court documents, showed the picture to a bartender, making jokes.
How do you even say, "Look, I saw a celebrity die"? Like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Like, it'd be one thing if, like, there was a celebrity car accident and you didn't show a picture of a dead body, but you showed a picture of the car accident. That's one thing.
Yeah.
From a distance, if you showed a picture of the crash scene.
Like, look what happened. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, I wouldn't do that, but whatever. Fine. Yeah. But they're showing pictures to people they don't even know.
Explicit
pictures of Kobe Bryant's dead body and jokes that were made as far as testimony in court. Right. So, and the pain and suffering that the Bryant family have already had to go through, you're going to put them through more. Anyway, here's why we're talking about this. Los Angeles County has agreed to pay $29 million to Bryant's widow after police shared these graphic images in this crash that happened now it's amazing 2 years ago. It feels like it was just yesterday.
Yep.
His wife, Vanessa, had sued, saying that the first responders photographed human remains, as I mentioned, as souvenir pictures.
Makes me sick.
Lawyers for L.A. County called the settlement fair and reasonable. The Lawyers said today marks the successful culmination of Ms. Bryant's courageous battle to hold accountable those who engaged in this grotesque conduct. She fought for her husband, her daughter, and all those in the community whose deceased families were treated with similar disrespect. We hope her victory at trial and this settlement will put an end to this practice. So here's my thoughts on that. And let me be very clear on this. While I'm glad they won, and I know that Vanessa didn't do this for the money, I know the other families are entitled to that as well. Here's my issue. The people who did this, in my personal opinion, should be held criminally liable.
I agree. 100%.
Right?
No
I mean, I'm not saying they deserve 10 years in jail, but this should be on their record, and that should be a felony.
Prove a point. Prove a point.
Right?
Period.
I know they passed a new law in L.A., which I think in the future can make it criminally liable. These people who took pictures and then sent it to people should go to jail.
Yep.
Now, if it's 3 months or 6 months, fine. You can deal with that. But they deserve some jail time. That's number one. Number two, they should never be allowed to be law enforcement ever again.
Lose their jobs immediately,
Right,
Brian.
right.
Immediately.
Now, they lost their jobs here, but they can apply to be law enforcement or EMT workers or whatever elsewhere.
Absolutely not.
And those laws need to change.
Why would you even want to take somebody that you saw do that? Like, yeah, you took a picture of Kobe Bryant's and his daughter Gigi's dead bodies, and you got fired from where you're at, but we'll take you over here.
Right.
What? That's literally making your company liable.
Right.
It's a liability right there.
Right.
Absolutely not.
I agree. And those are the types of laws that many people on the left are trying to change. Example, if you're a police officer and you commit a heinous act, even if you're not criminally liable, if you do something like this, there is no law that says you have to disclose this information if you're applying to be a police officer in another county. Now, if they find it online, that's one thing. The laws need to change. If you're a police officer and you do something really stupid and you're fired, but not a crime, but you're fired from the job for doing something inappropriate, I don't care what it is. I know there was a story like a few months ago of a female police officer that was performing sexual acts to male police officers in a squad car. That person should not be allowed to be a police officer ever again. You're getting paid on taxpayer dollar. These police officers that spread these pictures are despicable human beings.
Yep.
I don't want to hear, oh, well, it was a weak moment, I made a mistake. No, you're just a horrible person to do this, right? It's not about learning a lesson. And I hope, by the way, these attorneys are right that in the future nobody will do this. But I think it will happen again in the future. Laws need to be put in place where that if an officer gets fired for misconduct, I'm not even talking about criminally liable. If you get fired for misconduct, it has to go on your record where if you apply for another job, that information has to be disclosed.
Yeah, it needs to be pulled because at the end of the day, you need to know who you're bringing in to serve the people. You're serving the people. You're not serving Chipotle. You're serving the general public who are looking for you for protection. Absolutely not. You cannot have despicable, horrendous people in places of power. Absolutely not.
I agree. And when I heard this story about, these officers who shared these photos, I just got so angry, and I felt for the Bryant family. This isn't about money. I understand they got a $29 million settlement. They don't need that.
Not at all.
And they're splitting this up with other families. I understand that as well. But this isn't about the money. This is about a statement that this can't happen. And who's the people who actually pay for this, right? Taxpayers. People in Los Angeles. Taxpayers are the ones that are paying for this, not those police officers. I understand that they lost their jobs. They'll find a job somewhere else. I believe they should be found not only criminally liable, but responsible financially as well. And yet it's the police department that takes care of this. Here you go, the police department, taxpayer money, here you go, take it. We'll make sure this doesn't happen again. I have a serious problem with that. And I hope in the future this doesn't happen. But again, I'm glad that Vanessa Bryant and her family got hopefully some closure here. But this can't happen, man. We see it all the time, and rubberneckers, right? That's what they call people on the highway. When you see an accident, people want to look, but that's different. That's different. These are professionals. These are trained professionals that
paid to do your job. And I always bring this back to, how would you feel if this was done to you? How would you like to wake up and be shown dead bodies of your family without hearing it from your family members first? How would you feel if the whole world knew about your situation before you did, and is now looking for an answer from you?
No, you're right. I mean, I think about my sister who I just lost, and you know, it was a terrible phone call, and it's a call you never want to get, but I got the phone call from my dad, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Exactly.
I don't want to get that phone call from a police officer. I don't want to get that phone call from somebody that didn't know my sister.
Right.
I wanted to get it from my family, and as difficult as it was, I'd rather hear it from my dad or my mom than somebody that, you know, didn't know my sister. And my understanding that Kobe Bryant's family got that they got the information from media, from news and media, and that's unfortunate. But anyway, I'm glad that these people, to some extent, were held accountable. And moving forward, this cannot ever happen again. It's just a terrible story, and it can't happen again. It just can't. And you know, this is sort of Laker country. I know you're I know you're out there in LA. The Lakers play a preseason game here.
Yep.
And I know that there's a lot of people in LA, but people all over the world. I know Kobe Bryant's parents live in Las Vegas, my understanding. And I met Kobe Bryant's sister, who was a lovely lady, by the way. I met her at Ice Cube's 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and I met Kobe's sister, a really nice lady, really lovely lady, and I had a brief conversation with her. She's super cool. Really nice family, And Gigi would have been a heck of a basketball player, man. She probably would have played for UConn.
Followed in her dad's footsteps, for sure.
Yeah, she would have been a hell of a basketball player. What a career she would have had, and it's just so sad. It's just so sad. But again, it goes to responsibility and not going back to the crash, but I guess I will. I mean, this was pilot error. This wasn't an engineering failure with the helicopter. This was pilot error.
Yep.
And it also goes to show you that there are certain pilots that fly and they're pressured. Maybe they feel pressure. And I don't think this was Kobe Bryant's fault in any way, shape, or form, but maybe the pilot felt a little bit of pressure to get them where they needed to go. And that can't happen, man. Safety has to be number one.
Safety saves lives.
It has to be number one.
Yep.
And so anyway, happy for the Bryant family that they got this judgment. And I don't want to ever have to talk about anything like this ever again. But sadly, I feel like in this day and age, as you mentioned, with social media and things that people put up that are inappropriate every day, sadly, something like this might very well happen again. You being out there in LA, how far was it, by the way, from it was wasn't it in Malibu?
Yeah, it wasn't that far at all.
Chopper went down. Yeah,
Malibu was only 40 minutes away from downtown.
So not that far.
It's not that far at all. Yeah. I mean, that's without traffic, but
I mean, there are a lot of people with very prominent people, some of the wealthiest people in the world that live in Beverly Hills, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Beverly Hills, Malibu. I mean, yeah.
What is that lifestyle like? I mean, people with the private jets,
rich,
and people who drive their
something
cars.
I don't know about, but I mean, hey, if you guys want to teach me, let me know.
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, I've been to Beverly Hills a few times, and it's just a different world.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I see. Funny enough, I talk to my friends about LA all the time, and I always say LA is not marketed to be what it actually is,
right?
Because they use these outside cities and towns like Beverly Hills and Venice Beach and Santa Monica to say this is specifically LA. And yeah, it's a different world. It really is.
How do you deal with the traffic out there?
I don't. I don't. Listen, if you ask my mom, she's like, I hate being on the phone with you in traffic. She's like, you never used to be like this. Why do you have such road rage? And I'm like, move.
I mean, I can't deal with it. There's just too many people out there, man. I can't deal with the traffic. It's too expensive.
My thing is, it's too many people going nowhere.
Yeah.
Why are you guys out at 2 p.m.? Do none of you guys have jobs? Where are you guys going?
That's true.
But I mean, LA is also a very conventional city, and a lot of people work many different jobs with many different hours, and so
same thing with Vegas, though. But we don't. I mean, you look at the people, all the people that live in LA, but Vegas is turning into mini LA in some aspects. Yes.
I mean, Brian, again, $1,000 for one bedroom, you won't find with everything you need: washer and dryer, AC, a porch, closet space, extra walk-in.
Yeah.
You're not gonna find that in LA for $1,000. You will be on the streets.
Yeah. No. What does a one bedroom go for in like an average neighborhood in LA?
Again, it all depends on what you're looking for. A one bedroom could definitely go for $1,750, $1,800, but it's not going to include what you need. If you want to get all the amenities that you want, parking, washer and dryer, closet space, you have to be willing to spend $2,500 for that. And it's usually in the luxury apartments. And people don't realize these luxury apartments are small.
That is so brutal. And that's like in an average neighborhood, right? Not even a really upscale neighborhood.
This is average. Oh, no. Again, with me being a mini celebrity, I have friends who are in the industry, and I have friends who just do computer science stuff, and they make so much money, and they're spending $4,000 for an apartment. I would never. I would never. It's because I feel like that's ridiculous. I feel like the way we have to live in the world right now is ridiculous. But since we're talking specifically about LA,
right?
You should never have to pay that much to live. Do you know how stressful it is, even for me, trying to make sure I can maintain myself, not a lifestyle, myself.
Right.
And this is just the rent itself, not utilities, not insurance, not all the stuff you have to get when you get an apartment, not water, trash, and sewer, none of that. This is just base rent alone. It's ridiculous.
I just couldn't deal with that. I mean, it's just a different lifestyle out here. Now, I say it's turning into mini LA in some aspects. People are moving here by the day. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the world. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people from LA and a lot of people from California that are moving here, but this will never be LA.
Well, let me ask you a question about that before you continue.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of my own surveying here in Vegas, and I'm hearing a lot of people say that they're wanting to leave Vegas for like Atlanta or LA because there's not much entertainment work out here. But I'm seeing a lot of people are bringing their entertainment here. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, number one, this is the entertainment capital of the world, and movies are now being made here. I talked to some people last week at an event I went to that direct movies, and they're trying to bring more movies out here made in Las Vegas. Some of the most nostalgic movies of all time were made in Las Vegas. So that's number one. We are the entertainment capital of the world, whether it be cirque shows or concerts or impersonators or magicians or comedians. This is the entertainment capital of the world. On any given night, you have God knows how many shows, 20 or 30 or 40 shows per night on the Strip. We have some of the biggest acts in the world that come here. And now we actually have the arenas and stadiums to be able to deal with that. It could be T-Mobile Arena. It could be Allegiant Stadium. We can have anything we want. We got the Super Bowl coming up here next year. It is the entertainment capital of the world. We have the best restaurants in the world. It's a 24/7 lifestyle and a 24/7,
Our just have 24/7 subways.
Yeah, we don't have that. We don't have subways yet, but
no, like the sandwich spot.
Oh, not like sandwich, like
no,
Jared.
Not the train.
Jared at Subway. I think he's in jail right now.
24-hour restaurant at school.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. 24/7 everything. Tonight, by the way, UNLV hoops against Utah State. I actually am going to pick UNLV to win this game tonight, even though they are getting 2 points. I actually think senior night they're going to get it done tonight. I think it's a good matchup against Utah State. Utah State, UNLV wins in the athleticism department, I think, but Utah State's got a lot of great shooters. I think UNLV gets it done tonight. I'm calling for the upset. I think UNLV beats Utah State tonight. Well, I got to tell you, my man, this has been a lot of fun.
It's been amazing.
I appreciate you being here, Jamie D.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I have a feeling we'll be seeing you again very, very soon on this show. But
awesome.
I appreciate it. Great job, and
Thank you.
I hope it wasn't torture for you.
No, this is great. And just for your fans out there, you guys can follow me on Instagram or TikTok at It's Jamie D, ITSJAIMEDEE.
Well, I hope you had some fun.
Yeah,
I know I did. I had a good time.
This was a great opportunity. Seriously.
I appreciate you coming on, and no question about it. All right, tomorrow on the show, we got some very special guests, including the big 7-footer, 11-year NBA veteran Paul McKeskey, going to be joining us in studio. America's psychiatrist is going to be joining us. She thinks that Mr. Fetterman is not fit for office, and she's going to give her medical expertise and tell us why. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll have another special guest co-host joining us as well. I appreciate you guys joining me. Follow me on YouTube, which is PTL Vegas. You can follow me on Twitter, which is Pushing Limits LV. Thank you all for watching on TikTok and listening on KSHP. And we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Peace out, guys.